Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're continuing Book 6 of the Ethics, which deals with the so-called intellectual virtues, in that sense, the virtues of the mind. Um, and today, last time we looked at it, Chapter 3, the previous video, we looked at episteme. First of all, he seems to start it again. He talked about the 5 ways of truing, the 5 ways of discerning the truth, and that kind of how we discern the truth in that sense. And then he lists them. He listed them one way, and then he started art and science, and then he reverses it now because notice, let's go look what he did. Let's for a second. Let's go back here for a second. He goes. He says we're talking about 5 ways: art, science, prudence, wisdom, intellect. Right. So what did he do first? Last chapter he did on episteme, not right, episteme, science. So let's go look at chapter 4. Now I'm going to suggest he's going to talk about art here, art, techne, and art. So he what was listed first and second on the original initial listing is inverted, where he deals with the eternal things that don't admit change. Now he's going to deal with both a thing made, and an action performed belongs to what admits of being otherwise. But making, and here is 23, production or poesis, right, as many translators render it, is also the term of poetry and poems, right? Making. And hence at 6.2, poesis, the making and production of what is art, is distinguished from praxis, right? So there's praxis, all action, all things of this is praxis. Action. There's an action of making, but then there's an action of doing, and that doing is kind of a praxis also. So at one level, praxis and poesis are opposites, are not the same. They're differentiations, but what's interesting is that the distinction between praxis and poesis. Well, then also, but praxis is also in this level of this, right? So therefore, things made and actions performed belong to what admits of being otherwise. But making and actions are different. And concerning them, we trust in even the exoteric argument. So therefore, that's where this is lined. And concerning them, we trust even exoteric arguments, more public arguments about this. That in other words, techne and making, actions and making are kind of different. Poesis and praxis are different, and this is how this is in that sense. The external, we call the exoteric arguments on these. They even suggest that this is the case, right? So okay, but they admit being otherwise. As a result, the characteristic bound up with action that is accompanied by reason is different from the characteristic bound up with making that is accompanied by reason. So, therefore, pure just kind of action of doing things, action, human action and choice of that. The reasoning that is bound up, the discerning, the truing, reasoning is thus a truing and truing and falsing, deals with affirming and denying, right? Therefore, this truing or denying regarding action is different from the truing and denying or the reason that deals with making. Okay. So why reason is different from the characters bound up with making than that is accompanied by with making that is accompanied by reason, right? Hence, the one, the one is not contained in the other. Okay. So therefore, he's saying that the action for action is not making, and making is not action. Well, wait a minute. But didn't he say this is the problem? This is if we have the logic of this. This is the big problem here. Making and are not contained in each other. So this action is. See, this is very interesting because here he suggests that it's not made up, that praxis, making, and doing are completely different, even though they're similar in terms of how they're doing it. Right? They're dealing with the things that are admit variation. But the things admit variation was earlier was said action, right? Was this so? Therefore, both of these things are action. So therefore, there is a problem here. Is there a contradiction here, or is there two meanings of action here? We have to, the tradition seems to suggest that there's two definitions. There's this action and praxis in the specific sense, and action in the general sense. But the action that he's talking about here is that an action in the specific sense, which deals with mere action that deals with the actions of doing versus making. That is not making. So as a result, the characteristic bound up with action, that is accompanied by reason is different. So that this characteristic bound up with action, that's even more interesting. The characteristic that is bound up with action is different from the characteristic that's bound up with making, that is accompanied by reason. Hence, the one that is not contained in the other. For action is not making, and making is not action. Since house building is a certain art, and is in that respect a certain characteristic bound with making that is accompanied by reason, and since there is no art whatever that is not a characteristic bound up with making, in other words, there is no art whatever that is not a characteristic bound up with making, and accompanied by reason. Nor is there any such thing that is not an art. So, in other words, that if it's combined, an art is a thing of making with reason. So there is nothing that has this that is not an art. And an art and a characteristic bound up with making that is accompanied by correct reason. True, no, this is true reason. True reason would be the same thing. So therefore, in other words, an art and any characteristic bound up with making that is accompanied by true reason is the same thing. True reason. And every art is concerned with the process of coming into being. That is, with the art fully contriving and contemplating. Now, 24, artfully conceiving. Some editors alter the text to make artfully conceiving to technique a new subject, and artfully contrivance is contemplating how. But Bywater, followed by Burnett, defends the manuscript in that sense, right? Some translators would argue artfully, so therefore, and artfully conceiving is contemplating how. But no, it's for artfully conceiving and contemplating. Theory, in other words, this artfully conceiving is technazine, zin, zin, and contemplating, of course, is theory, right? How something that admits of either existing or not existing may come into being. The origins of what lies in the person making, but not in the thing made. So, in other words, it is the origin lies in the making of it, the person making it. Not its origin does not lie in the thing itself, not the thing made. So the art is its origin. The origin of the art is within the art, the man or the person artfully contriving and contemplate how something that it admits of either existing or not existing can come into being. And its origins lie in the person making, not in the thing made. For of the things that exist or come into being of necessity, there is no art. So, in other words, the things that exist or come into being of necessity. Necessity, that means they're there. There is no art. Nor is there of those that do so according to nature. So things that come into being because of necessity. What does that mean? That in other words, reality makes it so. Something makes it so. That's not art. There's no art in that. Things of necessity. And then things that are according to nature, there's no art either. In other words, there's no art of childbirth in that sense. That there's no, it's childbirth is a natural process. There's not a techne in that sense. There's no art, for they have their origins within themselves. So, in other words, in other words, they have their origins in the act itself, in the nature of the thing. It's the thing that happens. That is the necessary things, the things of necessity, the things that come into being, that exist or come into being by necessity, or exist by nature, come into being by nature. These are not arts, for they have their origins in themselves. Now, next paragraph here, and this ends the chapter in that sense. Now, now, since making and action are different, and art is necessarily concerning with making, but not with action. Okay, so the making of something, the making of something. But here's a problem: archery, is archery a doing or a making? We study the art of archery, right? We speak of modern language. We speak the art of archery, or the art of basketball playing. We speak of the athlete and what he does as an art, but when we do that, when Aristotle would not call that an art. Gymnastics, is that an art? Yes, gymnastics is an art in that sense. But okay, that is true. He would say gymnastics. So therefore, if this is a gymnastic thing, then it is an art. And that wait a minute, but it's also a doing, right? Mm-hmm. The archer who's doing something, or the the warrior who's doing something, fighting, that is an art, but it's also a doing. What about that? I think this is the concept. A making and an action are different, and the arts necessarily concerned with making, but not with action. And in a certain manner, chance and art are concerned with the same thing. So chance or luck and art are kind of concerned with the same thing. Just as Agathon asserts, art is fond of chance and chance of art. 25, and this is a famous line, contains the line of an alternative jingle, techne, tukon, tukon, techne, right? This is Agathon. But there's a very important aspect of this, that there's chance, in a certain matter, chance and art are connected with the same thing. And making a production of something, coming into being in that sense, right? The difference is one is done through one is by luck and one is by choice. The techne or the art is a choice. It is a longing connected with reasoning. It is an intellection. The intellection is trying to do it correct. It is a discerning of what is true and what is false. So therefore, even though art and luck are connected, they do produce. And it's even more interesting that he says that nature, things that are by necessity and things that are by nature and art are not, but then art and luck are kind of connected in a certain way. But he says what? He goes, and art then, as we stated, is a certain characteristic bound up with making that is accompanied by true reasoning. And artlessness or lack of skill is to the contrary, is a characteristic bound up with making accompanied by false reasoning or incorrect reasoning. And concerned with what admits of both, and concerned with what admits of being otherwise. In other words, things that can be other than they are. But isn't the true reasoning both the art and the artless deal with the things made can be otherwise, right? They're coming in this sense. So therefore, the art is the one who is accompanied with true reason. Both the artless and the art is both making things, and the things made are things that are what they're concerned with being otherwise. The artless does it without true correct reason. They do it with false reason, incorrect reason, and the one who has the art is the one who uses correct reason to make. And here we end the chapter. This is a very short chapter in techne. Techne is a very big theme, and I would think maybe there would be a much broader, much longer discussion about techne. In fact, it deserves a much longer and because I think it is a big, broad topic here. But for the purposes of what he's done, he's giving a brief summary, and he ends it here. So notice we inverted the order here, okay? And prudence, now the next thing we'll turn about, next chapter, prudence is the same order. It's the middle point, right? The prudence is in the middle of the original list. So we'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below, and I will respond to them and when I see them, and give you an answer on that, kind of address them in that sense as I can or able. Another thing you can do is, if you've liked it, hit the like button, please. It helps to grow the channel. It gives us, it helps things grow and helps develop them further. If you've liked it, please share it with your friends. Share it on your social media. Again, that will help. Share it far and wide, as a lot of my friends say online. It helps. Again, anything you share and you spread around helps the algorithm in that sense. Another thing is, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Consider subscribing. Subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Again, it improves our appearance on people finding it and things like that. Another thing that can happen is if we. Oh, I'm getting tired. It helps grow the channel. So if you please subscribe. If you didn't like it, you thought something was wrong, didn't like what I did here, thought something was incorrect or whatever, you can always thumbs down. But say in the comments what the problem is, so that we can learn. Everyone can learn. This is the purpose of why I'm doing this. For myself, for others that watch this can benefit from it. If you want to help me, nothing you do is you want. Okay. Now, this before I jump that one. First of all, you want to follow me on social media. The social media links are below. If you want to know more about me as a scholar and as a researcher, and you want to check out my research and scholarship, you can look at the academic social media links below the social media links. And the other thing you can do, if you want to financially help me to do what I do here, you can do so through the Patreon or Subscribestar. The links are below. Or you can do so by buying one of my books. Again, the books are listed below. You can order it through your local bookstore or through an online server like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or anything similar online book provider. With that, that's it. We will see you next time when we turn to the next chapter, chapter 5, and we look at prudence. Okay, therefore that's it. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a good day.